So good morning. This is Vicki Smith, and I am not on your agenda this morning, but I'd like to take a minute to introduce myself. I'm the Executive Director of Alliance of Disability Advocates. I got involved in the development of the FAST program um, what, as I was writing the after action report for a deployment that Alliance of Disability Advocates did during Florence. I met Sherry and she started talking about how to develop fast uh, responders and teams of responders, and I was hooked. Um, so I'm here right now because we're demonstrating that all fast responders need to be flexible and available and to support and fill in for our team members. The two women who were to do this session both had to bow out, one because of work responsibilities and the second because of illness. And so we uh, we adapted, and I think that's the key element of fast responders and is our flexibility and our um, uh, readiness to adapt. So we're going to talk about demobilization and transitioning. Next slide, Sherry, please. So this is overseen by the FAST lead, and you'll recall that the FAST lead um, was the first person on the scene, but it might be a different person than that individual by the end of deployment. The key is communication back with the disability coordinator about any transitions that are going on with the team. Um, so uh, the FAST lead is going to talk with the FAST members. They're going to establish priorities, um, return equipment, and fill uh, all the paperwork out and give it to the FAST lead. Now, this could happen, demobilization or transitioning could happen because um, the emergency or in our case, typically the hurricane has left the region and the emergency response is downsizing or collapsing just to a fewer number of areas. So demobilization is a term that we use when your assignment comes to an end. Transitioning is when the team is finished at one shelter and all or some of the team members have the ability to then deploy to a second or another shelter location. Um, FAST members establish priorities as they're making this transition or demobilizing about the work that they've been doing and how to leave a very strong and concise and complete footprint so that we can know what was done. We also want to know all of this information because we want to continually strive for excellence. So each FAST member is going to organize their paperwork. They're going to make sure that they have their copies of the forms, that all of the forms were turned into the correct individual. If there's any outstanding requests that have been made but not yet received, you want to clearly communicate with the shelter manager about the status. And what to expect, and note that on your form. You want to return all of the equipment that you might have been using that belongs to the shelter. Next slide, please. So if you're the FAST lead, and remember, you could be, any one of you could be a lead at some point in time during a disaster. You're going to provide debriefing to the FAST members. You're going to go over what uh, what what you've learned about the needs on that site, any outstanding issues. Um, uh, I think this probably is also the beginning of a time that you would start thinking about what worked and what didn't work, and communicate that with your team members. All of that information will eventually go um, up the chain, and be so that we can evaluate the effectiveness of the entire FAST response. The FAST lead is going to collect and organize all the documentation and paperwork. Um, the FAST lead is also going to be responsible for talking with the site manager on the field resource requests and any of those that are remain pending. You'll send a copy of the FAST resource request form to the FAST coordinator back wherever they might be. Um, you can scan that in, take a picture of it, but you're going to leave the original with the site manager. So it will be important that you have documentation of what you left them, and copies of what you left them. You're going to talk with the FAST members about what they need, make sure that they're in good shape to travel to where they're going next, whether or not that's home or to another shelter. And as a FAST coordinator, um, a very important thing that you want to do is that you want to, from my point of view, you want to remind them that when they get home, they need to either text, call, or email the FAST coordinator, and let them know that they are home safely. FAST coordinator's job isn't done until they know that all of the FAST members are home safe. So please don't make us stay up any longer than we need to. You are, if your team is transitioning to another shelter, you're going to, and you may not be going as a team, you might be going to join another FAST team. You're going to give them the relevant information. If there is a FAST coordinator or FAST lead on site, you're going to give them that person's name, and they will be getting that information from the FAST coordinator. Once all of the FAST members are on their way, you're going to take a few moments and call us back in Raleigh and tell us the status of your teams, the fact that they are on their way, confirm from your point of view about where they were going next. You're going to also briefly check in with the FAST coordinator about what worked and what didn't work, particularly things that didn't work or things that needed to be addressed, um, so that we can be constantly learning and improving our skill sets during an actual disaster. Next slide, Sherry. So the FAST lead should begin, so we're going to talk a little bit about, so what does that briefing look like from a responsibilities of the FAST leader? The briefing should review the status of any affected individuals remaining in the shelter, as well as a review of any equipment that's been assigned to an affected individual. And this is the information you're going to leave the site manager um, for their information. You don't want the site manager to be wondering about where you went and and what the status was of what you were working on. Those individuals already have enough on their plate than to worry about things that we know that they may not know. And remember that site managers change. They change shifts. They could not very easily could be someone who's coming on shift who's kind of brand new um, to this disaster. So you want to give them as much information as possible. You should also check in with the site manager about during this briefing about any feedback that they might have and be willing to give you at that time. So lessons learned during deployment, positives and challenges. Remember that there are no negatives. There are just things that we can improve upon in the future. The team lead also is when helping people transition to, again, make sure that they know where they're going next to the next shelter. And a lot of this information is going to be coming from the disability FAST coordinator back in Raleigh. And so, double check that information to make sure it's current, because it could change very quickly, especially as a disaster is evolving. Next slide, please, Sherry. So the FAST coordinators also get to demobilize. We will be demobilized by the health services coordinator. If we were in times of not social distancing, this would be in the room, same room, and we would be able to have that conversation in person, turn over any paperwork to the human service coordinator that we might have. And that paperwork doesn't mean actually pieces of paper, but making sure that the notes are completely documented in the database that tracks all this information. The briefing should review the status of any affected individuals remaining in the shelter, as well as a review of any equipment. So there's just some common themes here, which is information. It kind of flows up. Each individual person who is responding has paperwork that is complete when they get ready to go home or transition to another place. They turn over that information to the team lead. The team lead, who also may be demobilized or transitioning to another shelter. And by the way, they may not be team lead at the shelter that they're transitioning to. They just might be a fast responders. It depends on whether or not they are coming into a team that's already in a shelter, or whether or not a new team is being composed to go to a new shelter. But the information flows up. You give documentation, an update of any equipment that's been assigned and where it goes, or any outstanding resource requests that are still pending. So these would be things that have been requested but not yet received at the shelter. So you want to be really clear about the status of things that are in transition. We don't want a necessary resource to arrive at a shelter and have no one at that shelter except for the person who needs it know what it's for. So very, very important to do communication. The lessons learned, positives and challenges, again, as I shared, And again, you want to make sure that the FAST coordinator knows where the team, making sure that the team members have the correct address for the next shelter. So next slide, please. So I'm sure you have questions, but I don't. You can type them in. Sorry for the horn in the background.
All right. Thank you, Vicki.
You're welcome.